All right, I gave you, I think, a picture of financialization, and here is another one. Here's the share of value added. You can see it doubles. This is the financial sector was contributing to 10% of value added in the early post-war period. Now it's 20%, so it's doubled. They become twice as important as a share of the economy. Their share of profits has quadrupled from 10% to 40%. And I don't have the latest years, but they're back up to 40% of all corporate profits go to the financial sector. If you think about it, this is crazy. The financial sector is supposed to be like an intermediate good. Okay? All they're doing is providing finance for the productive activities of the economy, and they're getting 40% of all the profits. So that's financialization, a way to measure it. I showed you this picture yesterday. I just wanted to focus in again on the private finance. This is another way of calling it financialization. So 1/4 of all the debt, 125% of GDP, is financial institutions owing other financial institutions. So that's another way to talk about financialization. We've had a series of bubbles. In a way, all we have is bubbles. Even Larry Summers said that. He said, the only thing we have going on is bubbles. The only time we grow is when we have a bubble. A NASDAQ bubble, the commodities and real estate bubble, or today it's the stock market bubble again. Okay, all we have is bubbles. So Michael Hudson calls it Bubbleonia. Or, you know, bubbles are us. You know, Toys R Us. Bubbles are us. But our head of the Fed, Greenspan, denies that they're bubbles. At the Levy Institute every year we have a Minsky conference. And in 2007, we had 2 people from the Fed came and demonstrated empirically there was no real estate bubble in the United States. April 2007. The crash had already started, and they didn't even know it. They didn't even know we'd been in a bubble. We had Michigan, who was on the Board of Governors, who gave the keynote talk at the conference, never once mentioned the bubble and the likely crisis. His whole talk was about how the Fed was fighting inflation as we're going into the deepest crisis since the Great Depression. The Fed is focused on fighting inflation. It was crazy.
It sounds like Wolfgang Schäuble.
Yeah, no, that's right. So the reality is we had the biggest debt, equity, commodity, and real estate bubbles all at the same time in 2007. Propped up by the big government and the big bank. We hadn't had any cleansing that you get when you have a Great Depression.